Welcome to our Distance Learning Week 3. Our topic is about telling time, with the following objectives: to read and tell time, and to use the term quarter past, quarter to, and half past in telling time. So here are the following success criteria. At the end of the lesson, you will be able to read the time in analog and digital clock. Second, use the term quarter past, quarter to, and half past in telling time. And apply the lesson in real-life scenario. So let's start first with lesson objective number 1, to read and tell the time. As you can see, there are two types of clock. The first one is analog clock, which made use of the numbers 1 to 12 in a circular manner. We usually can see this in our wall clocks. Next is the digital clock. As you can see, it follows the format with 4 digits, and in between is a colon. So let's start with a digital clock. The first 2 digits tells us about the hours, and the last 2 digits after the colon tells us about the minutes. So in this example, it is read as 12 o'clock. The minute is 00, which is read as o'clock. Then in the analog clock, you will see that there are 2 hands, the short hand and the long hand. The long hand tells us about the minutes, that's why it is called minute hand. And the short hand tells us about the hours, which is called hour hand. Remember also that in analog clocks, we have to take note if it is in AM or PM. Why? Because there are 24 hours in a day, but the analog clock only uses the numbers 1 to 12. So, the hours in the morning between 12 midnight and 12 noon are read as AM. So, for example, you wake up in the morning at 6 AM, while the hours between 12 noon up to 12 midnight, or the hours in the afternoon and the evening, is read as PM. So you eat dinner with your family at 6 p.m. Also, take note that for the hours in the analog clock, we will look at the shorthand and read the number itself. So in this example, the shorthand is pointing at 5. So the hour hand, or the hour time, will be 5. While for the minutes, we will look at the longhand and read by multiples of 5. So in here, it points to the 12, but we will not use 12 for the minutes. We are going to read by the multiples of 5. So from 1, we're going to read this as 5 minutes. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. But remember that we don't use 60 in writing the time. Instead of 60, we are going to use 00. So this time is 5 o'clock. So let's have some exercises. For example, we have this clock. The hour hand is pointing between 6 and 7. So we are going to use the lesser value. So the hour time will be 6, while the long hand is pointing towards 8. But again, we will not use 8 in the minutes. We are going to use the multiples of 5. So, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Therefore, the minutes will be 40. So, our time is 6:40. You can also use multiplication by 5. So if it is 8, multiply it by 5, you will have 40. Next, the hour hand is pointing towards the point near 12. So that is between 11 and 12. Therefore, again, we are going to use the smaller value. So it will become 11 in the hour time. And then the minutes hand is pointing towards 11. So again, we're going to use the multiples of 5. So by counting to 5, 11 now is 55. Next, the hour hand is pointing towards the point between 2 and 3. So again, use the smaller value. We have 2, and then the minute hand points towards 3. So it will become 3 times 5 is 15. So our time is 2:15. What about this one? The hour time or the hour hand points between 7 and 8. So it becomes 7, and then the minute hand points points at exactly 5. So it will become 5 times 5, that is 25. Next, the hour hand points at 3. Therefore, that is exactly at 3 in the hour time. Well, the minutes hand points at 12. So again, we are not using 12, but we are going to use multiples of 5. So 12 times 5 is 60, but we will not use 60. Instead, we are going to use 00, and this is read as 3 o'clock. So that's how you're going to read and tell the time. Now let's move on to the second objective, which is to use the term quarter past, quarter to, and half past in telling the time. So you're going to remember these terminologies. We only have 3. Quarter past means 15 minutes have passed. Quarter to means 15 minutes before the given time. Then half past means 30 minutes have passed. Actually, we can use these terms in describing the time of the day. But for our objective today, we're just going to use quarter past or 15 minutes. Therefore, that is 3 on the clock. Then half past, which is 30 minutes. That is on the 6 on the analog clock. And quarter to, which is 15 minutes before the given time. So that is on the 9th of the analog clock. So for example, you are asked to find the time which is described as 8:30 in the morning. So we will use the time 8. Half past means 30 minutes have passed. So that is 30 minutes after 8. So that becomes 8:30. In the morning tells us that this is in AM. So 8:30 in the morning is actually 8:30 AM. Another example is 6:15 in the evening. As defined earlier, quarter past means 15 minutes have passed. And then 6 for the hours, so we have 6:15. And then in the evening tells us that it is in the PM. So the time for 6:15 in the evening is 6:15 PM. So let's try answering this one. For example, we have this. The hour hand is between 1 and 2, and the minute hand is pointing at 3. Therefore, this is 15 minutes after 1 o'clock. So it is described as 1:15. Now what about this one? This is 15 minutes after what time? This is in the hour time is between 5 and 6. So we're going to use again the lesser value. So that is 5:15. What about 15 minutes after this time between 11 and 12? So use again the lesser value, which is 11. Now what about quarter to? This is 15 minutes before the bigger value. So if this is 15 minutes before the time between 3 and 4, we're going to use the bigger value, which is 4. So this is 4:45. And so therefore, if we have 15 minutes before the time between 5 and 6, That becomes quarter to. Correct. The bigger value is 6. Next, this is again 15 minutes before the time between 7 and 8. So again, the bigger value is 8. So we have quarter to 8. That is how we use quarter past and quarter to. So therefore, let's try to answer this one. So if the hour clock or hour time points at 5, that will be our time. And the minute time or the minute hand points at 12. That will be o'clock or 00. So the time there is 5 o'clock, or it is written 5 colon 00. Next, the hour time is between 1 and 2. So which one are you going to use? Okay, the lesser value. So we have 1. And then the minute time is pointing at 6, which is 30 minutes or half past. So our answer will become half past 1 or 1:30. Next, the hour time is pointing between 2 and 3. So what are you going to use? 2. Correct. And then the minute hand points at 9. So by counting multiples of 5, it will become 9 times 5 is 45. So that is 245. But how are we going to describe it using quarter? So that is 15 minutes before the bigger time, which is 3. So that is quarter to 3 or 2:45. The last one is, this clock is showing the hour hand pointing between 6 and 7. So which is to be used? Of course, the smaller value, which is 6. And then the minute hand is pointing towards 3, which is 15 minutes. So that is 6:15, or to describe it in terminologies, we have 15 minutes after 6. So that becomes quarter past 6 or 6:15. Okay, so that is how you're going to tell time and use the term quarter past, quarter to, and half past in telling time. Thank you very much for watching. Happy learning time!